Hey there everyone, this is your friend the Canadian Casual, and in today's video I'm going to be chatting about who I think will be the champion of each weight division, each men's weight division, by the end of this year, 2024. I know we're halfway through the year already, but I do expect just about every champion to defend their belt at least one more time, and I do think we're going to be seeing some changes in a few of these weight classes. So, without further ado, let's get right into things, and let's start off with the heavyweight division. I think Tom Aspinall is going to be the undisputed heavyweight champion by the end of this year. Now, there is an asterisk next to that prediction, because I do think that Tom Aspinall is going to be promoted by the UFC from the interim heavyweight champion to the undisputed heavyweight champion later this year, after Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic fight. Tom, of course, has been calling Jon out in recent months to fight in order to unify the heavyweight belt. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that fight is going to happen. He is currently set to fight Curtis Blaydes at UFC 304 in the co-main event, and I do think that Tom Aspinall will defeat Curtis Blaydes. With respect to Jon Jones, I think that him and Stipe will likely be booked as the headliner for the upcoming November UFC pay-per-view. Once again, of course, they were scheduled to fight last year in November on the Madison Square Garden pay-per-view before Jon had to pull out, so I think they'll most likely fight again this coming November. And I do think that Jon will defeat Stipe, although that being said, Stipe is a difficult matchup, and it will definitely be quite the danger on the feet in their fight. But I think regardless who wins that fight, I think they'll both retire, both Jon and Stipe. And I think once they both retire, Tom will get the belt. And he will most likely fight Alexander Volkov, I would guess sometime in December. So that's it for the heavyweight division. Now let's move on to the light heavyweight division. Shum. Yeah, I think Alex Pereira is still going to be the champion come the end of this year. What a prolific year he's already had, helping save 2 UFC pay-per-views, 300 and 303 on just a couple of weeks' notice. I think they will match Pereira up with Magomed Ankalaev later this year. I have a strong feeling that they're gonna make this match happen in Abu Dhabi in the October pay-per-view. However, if that's not the case, I think most likely this fight will happen in the December pay-per-view. Ankalaev is quite good. He has pretty good striking in his own right, as well as pretty good grappling. We haven't really seen that in his recent fights against Johnny Walker, but we saw that more so in his fight against Jan Blachowicz. I would certainly hope he doesn't follow the same fight plan that Yuri and Jamal Hill followed against Pereira in their recent fights, and he engages in the grappling a little bit more, or at least tries to. However, I just feel like I see this fight going the same way as it has with Yuri and Jamal Hill. I think Pereira will catch him enough times on the feet to put him away, stop him. And yeah, I think Poatan retains the title. I think he leaves 2024 with an impressive 3 title defenses, and it makes his requests to move up to heavyweight even more enticing for next year. Hopefully we can see that fight between Pereira and Aspinall sometime in the near future. Alright, moving on to the middleweight division. I think Dricus du Plessis will still be the champion by the end of this year. Du Plessis and Israel Adesanya are, of course, already set to fight in the main event of UFC 305 in Australia. And I think Du Plessis is going to win that fight, man. I think Du Plessis will go into the fight with a good game plan, pressure Israel Adesanya well, mix in the grappling and wrestling along with the striking even better than he did against Sean Strickland, and I think he'll win a decision over Israel Adesanya. That being said, I do think he'll take a good amount of damage from Adesanya's crisp counter-striking, and I think this will be the last fight he takes this year. I think he'll, in all likelihood, rematch Sean Strickland, but I see that fight happening early next year. I know Du Plessis and Strickland fought at UFC 297 earlier this year in January, and I wouldn't be surprised if they fought in January of next year as well. Alright, now let's talk about the welterweight division. Bruv, I'm the champion of the division, bruv. I'm gonna be champion at the end of the year, bruv. 100%. Are you Arab, bruv? Are you Arab? No, I'm Canadian, Leon. Yeah, no, I think Leon Edwards will still be the champion come the end of this year. Leon is scheduled to fight Bilal Muhammad in the main event of UFC 304 Manchester later this month, which I'm pretty excited about. Bilal certainly is a difficult matchup for Leon, just with his pressure-heavy style, I think. But I think Leon will get past Bilal, probably in a grueling 5-round fight, probably by unanimous decision. And yeah, I think he will likely fight once more later this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he fights in December again. Of course, he fought last December against Kobe Covington. And I think he'll fight Shavkat Rakhmonov. I know there's been some rumors, inklings about Rakhmonov fighting JDM for a #1 contender spot, but due to JDM's recent injuries, I'm not too sure if that fight's going to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just gave Shavkat the next title shot. And while Shavkat is quite good, stylistically, he is pretty similar to Leon's recent opponents, such as Usman, Covington, and to a pretty good extent, Bilal Muhammad. Leon, of course, is known for really great takedown defense and excellent striking, and I think he'd be able to get past Rakhmonov as well. Moving on to the lightweight division, probably my favorite division to watch personally, I think Islam Makhachev will retain the title by the end of this year. I know Islam has expressed some interest in going up to 170 and trying to become a double champ. However, I don't think he's quite earned that opportunity just yet, but I think a win over Arman Tsarukyan would do that. And I do think he'll fight Arman Tsarukyan sometime later this year, and I do think he's going to win. You know, Islam and Arman, I would say they both have pretty similar styles to a certain extent. I think they're both quite good on the feet when it comes to striking, and of course when it comes to wrestling and grappling, they are both excellent. Arman has certainly improved since their first fight all the way back in 2019, but on the other hand, so has Islam. I don't think either of them will knock out or submit the other. I see this fight ending in a similar fashion to their first fight, a narrow decision win for Islam Makhachev. In all likelihood, I think they will fight in Abu Dhabi, although Islam has expressed interest earlier in the year about fighting at Madison Square Garden in New York. So I'd also love to see this as the co-main event to Jon Jones and Stipe at Madison Square Garden in November. I imagine if you're Islam, there's a lot of motivation to win this fight, because if he can get past Arman again, there's essentially no other lightweight contender waiting in the wings. I think his next fight after that would definitely be a shot at the 170 belt early next year. Alright, now we got the featherweight division, and I think Max Holloway will defeat Ilia Topuria sometime later this year. At the time that I'm making this video, there's still not been any official announcement of Topuria versus Holloway, although everybody believes that this is going to be the fight that they're going to make. I know Volkanovski certainly deserves a rematch for the featherweight belt when he's ready to come back, but I'm not sure he's ready to come back just yet. Topuria and Holloway have been going back and forth on Twitter in recent times, with Holloway saying that Topuria is the one who's dragging his feet. We can't be certain what exactly is going on behind the scenes, but I'm sure this fight will still get made. I wouldn't be surprised to see this as the headliner on the Sphere card coming up, UFC 306. Yeah, and in terms of how this fight goes down, I really think Holloway has a good chance of winning a decision. I think Holloway will be able to maintain distance well and hurt Topuria with lots of volume, just as he did to Justin Gaethje. You know, that being said, while Max is also known for having a great chin, Topuria certainly has the equalizer in his hands. We've seen the way he's knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, as well as his other recent opponents. So Max will certainly need to be careful of not getting caught clean by one of Topuria's overhands or uppercuts, check hooks, anything of the sort. But I think this should be a great fight that should stay primarily on the feet, and I can't wait to watch this once it does get finalized. Alright, winding up here, we'll talk about the Bantamweight division, and I think Sean O'Malley will still be the champion by the end of this year. While his next fight has not been finalized just yet, I think everyone's aware that it is going to be Merab Dvalishvili sometime later this year. I know there's been some talks about having them fight at the Sphere, I believe, according to Sean. And Merab is a great fight stylistically for O'Malley. Merab typically relies on control time, and having a very strong grappling heavy style, I suppose. And yeah, I'm not too sure he'll be able to get a hold of O'Malley cleanly. You know, Sean has a good reach advantage, height advantage as well. And I think there's a really good chance that O'Malley chins Merab on his way in, either in the first or second round, and just TKOs him in a similar fashion, maybe to how he did to Aljamain Sterling. Assuming this fight does take place in September, I wouldn't be surprised to see O'Malley take a couple of months off and fight the winner of Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov early next year in 2025. And lastly, we have the Flyweight division. Pretty easy choice. I think that Alexandre Pantoja will still be the champion come the end of this year, and the main reason is because he's already expressed that he's going to be taking a long layoff after his fight at UFC 301 with Steve Erceg. A fight which I did think he lost, but you know, it was a very close fight. He got the decision, so it is what it is. And he's been a very active champion to his credit over this past year and a bit, so I think he's definitely deserved that time off. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come back early next year. And you know, a lot of the flyweight contenders are fighting each other over the next couple of months. Of course, at UFC 304, Mohamed Makayev is taking on Manel Kape, and at UFC 305, Kai Kara-France is taking on Steve Erceg. So I think the division is, you know, working towards another clear-cut #1 contender. So it makes sense. His layoff shouldn't be that big of a deal in terms of holding up the division per se. And that will wrap it up for today. Those are my thoughts on who I think will be the champion of every division come the end of the year. Do you guys agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. This has been your friend the Canadian Casual. Until next time, goodbye.